Has the live stream started? Democratic Services?
Chairman, we're now live.
Thank you very much. I will go to each member of the council to confirm that they can hear and be heard. This is a legal requirement for me to do so. Please confirm verbally that you are able to hear me, and I will confirm in response that I can hear you. I'm sorry, we have to go through this procedure. It is legally necessary. Councillor Graham Andrews.
Good morning, Chair. I can see and hear you. Thank you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor Paul Andrews.
Good morning. I can see and hear you, Chair.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor Polly Andrews.
Yeah, good morning, Chair. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Councillor Jenny Bartlett.
Good morning, Chair. Yes, I can see and hear you.
Thank you. I can see and hear you too. Councillor Chris Bartram.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. I can see you and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. And your beard looks in very fine form as well, if I may say so. Councillor Christy Boulderson.
Good morning, Chair. I can hear and see you.
Good to see and hear you as well. Councillor Dave Bolter.
Good morning, Chair. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor Tracy Bowes.
Good morning, Chair. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor Ellie Chance.
Morning, Chair. I can see and hear you.
Good. I can see and hear you too. Thank you very much. Councillor Pauline Crockett.
Morning, Chair. Yes, I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you as well. Councillor Gemma Davis.
Yes, I can see and hear you, Chair.
Good. I can see and hear you too. Councillor Barry Durkin.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, everybody. I can see and hear you, Chairman.
I can see and hear you too. Good to see you. Councillor Tony Fagan.
Morning, Chair. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Looking very spry. Councillor Elizabeth Foxton.
Good morning, Chair. I can see and hear you. Thank you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor Carol Gandy.
Morning, Chair. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Councillor Keema Guthrie, I think, is absent. Councillor John Hardwick.
Good morning, Chairman. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor John Harrington.
Good morning, Chair. I can see and hear you. Thank you.
I can see and hear you too. There is summary scene behind you. Not quite what it's like outside, is it? Councillor Liz Harvey.
Chair, Councillor Harvey's computer is currently updating. She'll come in as soon as she can.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Jenny Hewitt.
Yeah, as of this moment, I can see and hear you. Fingers crossed.
Good. I can see and hear you as well. Thank you. Councillor Kath Hay.
Morning, Chair. I can see and hear you clearly. Thank you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor David Hitchener.
Yes, I can hear and see you. Thank you, Councillor Barron. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Hitchener. Councillor Philip Howells.
Good morning, Chair. Yes, I can see and hear you fine.
Good. I can see and hear you too, very clearly. Thank you. Councillor Helen Ianson. Morning, Mr. Chairman. I can see and I can hear you. I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor Terry James.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, and I can see and hear you clearly.
Good to see you in your usual shadow bank. Hope you're comfortable there. Not too cold. Thank you. Councillor Peter Ginman.
Good morning, Chairman and Council. I can hear and see you.
Thank you. I can hear and see you too. Thank you. Councillor Tony Johnson. Councillor Tony Johnson. Well, we'll see if he comes in later on. Councillor Graham Jones.
I can see and hear you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Where are you? I can't see you at the moment. Councillor Graham Jones?
Yes,
I can't see you at the moment.
Can see and hear you, Mr. Chairman.
Ah, I can see you now. Thank you very much indeed. That's good. Councillor Mike Jones.
Yeah, good morning, Chairman. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor Jim Kenyon. Councillor Kenyon. Don't have you here. Councillor Jonathan Lester.
Good morning, Chairman. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor Trish Marsh.
Chairman, I believe Councillor Marsh is also having the same update issues with her computer, but she is trying to join.
Right. Thank you. Councillor Bob Matthews.
Chairman, good morning. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too, thank you. Councillor Mark Milmore.
Good morning, Chair. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too, thank you. Councillor Jeremy Milne.
Good morning, Chair. I can hear and see you too.
I can hear and see you too, thank you. Councillor Felicity Norman.
Good morning, Chair and everyone. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too, thank you. Councillor Roger Phillips.
Good morning, Chairman. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too. Looks a merry scene behind you. Councillor Tim Price.
Morning, Chairman. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too, thank you. Councillor Paul Roan. Councillor Roan.
Yeah, technology again. Yeah, morning, Chair. Morning, colleagues. I can see and hear you.
I can see and hear you too now, thank you. Councillor Alan Selden.
Yes, good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I can see you with sound and vision. For information, Chair, I may have to disappear in about 10 minutes, just for a couple of minutes to attend to a domestic issue.
That's fine. Thank you very much for letting us know. Good to see you here. Councillor Nigel Shaw.
Good morning, Chair. I can hear and see you.
Good. I can hear and see you too. Very bright. Councillor Louis Stark.
Good morning, Chair. I can hear and see you.
I can hear and see you too. Thank you very much. Councillor John Stone. We did have Councillor Stone here a moment ago. Councillor Stone, are you around? You're muted. John, you're muted. John, can you just make sure we can hear you, please? Councillor Stone?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning. Now I can see and hear you. Good, excellent. Councillor David Summers?
Good morning, all. I can see and hear.
I can see and hear you too. Councillor Alyssa Swinglehurst?
Good morning, Chair. I can hear and see you, but my internet is unstable this morning, so hopefully it will sort out.
We look forward to that. Hope so. Hope you're okay. Councillor Paul Simons?
Morning, Chair and all. I can see and hear you. Thank you.
I can see and hear you too. Thank you. Councillor Kevin Tillett?
Good morning, Chair. I can see and hear you. Thank you.
I can see and hear you too. Councillor Diana Toynbee?
Good morning, Chair. I can see you and hear you. I'm sorry you can't see me better. I'll do what I can. I'll see what I can do.
We can just about see you, but obviously much pleasanter if we can see you better. Thank you. Good to see you here. Councillor Angie Tyler?
Good morning, Chair. I can see and hear you too.
I can see and hear you too very well. Councillor Yolandi Watson?
Good morning, Chair. I can hear you and see you. Thank you.
I can hear and see you too. Thank you. Councillor William Wilding? Has he been taken off by a wild boar? Councillor William Wilding, are you there? Or are you updating yourself? We shall put him a little across for the moment. I hope you can get onto us later on. Democratic Services will be waiting for you. Well, thank you very much indeed. And I'd like to welcome you all to today's virtual meeting. The Council is video and audio streaming this meeting live on the internet and making an official recording. The recording forms part of the public record of the meeting. Please note that it is a legal requirement that every member attending virtual meetings is able to hear and, where practicable, see, and be heard, and where practicable, be seen by the other members in attendance. And
Chairman.
Hello.
Sorry, Chairman. A number of members have actually rejoined while you were doing the roll call. So can I ask, after you've completed the legal requirements, that we go back to the roll call for those that didn't confirm that they could see or be heard?
Yes, yes. So I ask you to please have your audio switched on, and where you are able to do so, you also have your video enabled. And I'll go on to the virtual meeting points later on. Can we go back to the roll call then? Who have we got coming in now?
Chairman, it's joined during the roll call was Councillor Paul Andrews, Councillor Harvey and Councillor Marsh.
Can we just go through them then? Councillor Paul Andrews? Could you say Councillor? Can you just go through the names again? Councillor?
Joining during the roll call was Councillor Paul Andrews, Councillor Harvey and Councillor Marsh.
Councillor Paul Andrews?
Yeah, good morning again, Chair. I was on my phone and I switched over to my laptop, so I was here originally. Okay, but I'm back again on the laptop. Thank you.
Right, we can see and hear you now. Councillor Harvey? Councillor Harvey, are you there? Ah.
Good morning, Chair. I can hear and see you.
I can hear and see you too. Thank you very much indeed. Who else is there? Councillor Tony Johnson, have we got him?
Councillor Marsh, Chairman.
Councillor Marsh, can we see you please and hear you?
Yes, yes, Chair, I can hear and see you. Thank you very much.
I can hear and see you too. Thank you. Do we have anybody else? Councillor William Wilding, has he returned yet? He's still grappling with wild balls, perhaps, or electronic wild balls. And no one else we've got on the screen then?
Mr. Chairman, I have spoken to Councillor Johnson. He's trying to connect at the moment, but he's having problems with his laptop.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. We hope to see him later on. And can I then return to the script? For virtual meetings, there are a number of additional points for members of the council and officers to be aware of. All microphones, apart from mine, will be placed on mute at the start and during the meeting. Democratic Services will invite members to unmute their microphones to contribute to a debate where a member has raised their virtual hand or on a point of order. Where members exceed the time limit for speeches, their microphone will be placed on mute after a brief period of grace. Please be aware, members, that a clock will be used at this meeting to time member contributions to debates. The clock will be visible on the Zoom platform, top left-hand corner, I believe. When you wish to speak, please use the raise hand button. If you have updated your Zoom account, this will appear under the reactions button at the bottom of your screen. If you have not updated your account, the raise hand icon will be against your name in the participants list, which should be on the right of your screen. I will invite members to speak in order of hands being raised. Private chat has been enabled for this meeting. Please can members ensure that the facility is only used to communicate with me as the chairman via Mr. Coleman, to raise a point of order or to explain that you need to leave the meeting. Voting will be undertaken electronically by using the voting software within the virtual meeting platform. All members must vote to ensure the validity of the polls taken. In the event that electronic voting is not possible to use, or there is a technical failure, I will ask each member, by means of a roll call, to indicate if they are for, against, or are abstaining. I hope that's clear. But if you have any problems, we will give you every help we can. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. I've received apologies from Councillor Guthrie. Are there any other apologies as such? No. Item 2, declarations of interest. The next item is to receive any declarations of interest by members in respect of items on this agenda. If any member does need to leave the meeting while an item is discussed, they will be placed in the virtual waiting room until that item has been concluded. Members who have declared an interest and withdrawn from the meeting will be readmitted once the item has been concluded. Do any members have any interests to declare? No declarations of interest. Makes life simpler. Item 3, questions from members of the public. There have been no questions submitted under this item. Item 4, questions from members of the council. There have been no questions submitted by members of the council. Agenda item 5, the very meat of the meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I wonder whether I might raise a point of order. I'm not quite sure whether this is the right process, but just concerns about the weather in our county. I wonder whether it might be appropriate to say a few words about that, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Obviously, we've had news overnight, significant flooding in our county yet again. We had this last year. So my thoughts go out to the residents who are affected. We saw some news last night with Great Greyfriars Road being flooded, and thanks to the flood warden there, really appreciate his efforts. Yet another time when we rely upon our staff to get out, the added complication of COVID. So our thoughts are to the people in the county who are affected. Our officers will be out there working with it. It's not just Hereford, it's the whole of the county. I know north of the county there are problems. The water is going down towards Ross. So, you know, our thoughts are with you. It's a repeating event. You know, as a council, we are very concerned for the repetition that this takes place. We will, I'm sure, be in communication with the Environment Agency, working with people to try to you know, reduce the damage that's caused. I don't know whether the Joint Chief Executives have any sort of update or any information they are able to pass on at this stage. I think it would help the community if there was something, or some indication of when news will get out. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Chief Executives in, as you say, in lieu, are you there and do you wish to say anything?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I can confirm that information has been being sent out on social media. We do have a number of roads that are closed in the area, and we will provide further information on our website, and I will send all information out to members today.
I do very much wish that the floodwaters recede now, and as long as we don't get too much more rain, I think we might be in a better position perhaps next week. Let's hope so. But I haven't seen a long-term forecast. Have you seen the long-term forecast? No long-term forecasts available.
There is rain. There is the weekend, Chairman, will be okay, and then there's rain due next week, but not as heavy. So we're hoping that we will be okay. But we will be liaising with all the ward councillors and residents.
Good. Yes, it's all on the website too, isn't it? Herefordshire Council website will have regular and frequent updates on any flooding problems, I'm sure. But I do wish everybody to be keeping safe and keeping well and looking after themselves.
Chairman,
Yes?
I was just going to say that I'm just forwarding on an email from BBLP updating all councillors on what work's been done over the past day. So I'm just sending that to everybody now.
Thank you very much indeed. Do we have any more comments? Leader, do you wish to say anything else? Or can we then go
No,
back?
I just thought it was important we use this opportunity to communicate with the county. Thank you.
Chairman, I was just going to add, as Chairman of the Fire Authority, can I ask all members in your connections with communities to advise people that when they see water flooded on the highways, please do not drive into that water. We have had many instances, both in the last 48 hours and of course last year, where our firefighters have had to go in and rescue people. Now, whilst that is the role of firefighters and the emergency services, nonetheless, it is a little unnecessary, and it does put at risk firefighters' lives, never mind the lives of those people who drive in as well. So can you please use your communications? Probably, hopefully we won't need to do this again, but if ever there is any sort of flooding, do put that message out.
That's a very apposite comment, I think. Yes. Take care, be cautious, don't think your car is immune to flooding. It's not. Then we will now return to the appointment of the Chief Executive, agenda item 5, to approve the appointment of a Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service. Before we commence consideration of the report to appoint a Chief Executive, I understand that those officers involved in the recommendations to the report will leave the meeting room. The Chair of the Employment Panel will move and introduce the report. Given the importance of this item, I have given dispensation to the mover of the report to exceed the time limit of 5 minutes. So, Chair of the Employment Panel and Leader of the Council, do you wish to make your report, please? Councillor Hitchener, you're on mute. You are muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. My apologies. Thank you, Chairman, for agreeing that I may make this proposal without the usual 5-minute constraint. The approval of the appointment of a new Chief Executive is one of the most important functions that the Council will be involved with, and so deserves more than the usual time allowed. First, a technical issue. There is an error in paragraph 8 of the report, and I would be grateful if you could note the following correction. So 8 should read, Council is asked to note that as a result of statutory provisions, no single holder can be both head of paid service and the monitoring officer at the same time. So a relatively minor technical change there. The remaining paragraph provisions remain as drafted. This proposal is to approve the appointment of Paul Walker. I regret that more of you did not have the opportunity to meet him, but the process around recruitment had to be changed due to COVID restrictions. No trial by knife and fork, as I understand was the case many years ago. Paul has 5 years' experience as Chief Executive of the Borough Council in the Lake District, Copeland Borough Council. This is an area of the country very similar to ours. They have flooding issues, the same as us, so there will be some familiarity there. I have no concern that Paul will grasp quickly the issues we face as a rural county and will fit in well with our communities. In his CV, Paul states that he led the development of an organisation culture in which transformation and positive change were welcomed, founded on principles of customer focus, continuous development, performance management, empowerment of employees, equality and diversity, and creativity. These are cultural characteristics that we see in this organisation. Prior to being appointed to that role, Paul began his employment as an engineering apprentice. After 5 years, he took a role in South Ribble Borough Council as an activities officer in a council leisure centre and has remained employed in council since. His roles have included Assistant Director of Education and Culture, Director of Leisure, Culture and Community Learning, Managing Director, Blackpool Services, and of course, Chief Executive. On the way, he has obtained an MBA and been on a number of leadership programmes. Paul left Copeland in 2015 on the election of a mayor, carried out some consultancy work, and in 2017 took a role as corporate director in Harrow. I don't need to say that Harrow is rather different from Cumbria and Herefordshire. His experience there in a unitary authority with financial challenges not unlike ours can have only benefited Paul in broadening his experience. We will benefit from that experience. He led projects delivering 5,000 homes, 3,000 new jobs, a skills regeneration project, and transport and infrastructure projects, as well as being the strategic lead for the Harrow climate and ecological emergency. In the interviews, we did not quiz any of the candidates about their career paths, but Paul's follows a very logical pattern, and I believe from speaking to him that his move to Herefordshire will be the pinnacle of his career. Not a place to finish his career in peace and quiet, but one where he wants to leave a lasting legacy. As a panel, we had considered recruiting from outside the public sector, but we took the view that this was not without risks, and we have plenty of excellent candidates applying with public service experience. Some of Paul's first words to the employment panel was that he is a public servant here to make a difference. He talked about this as a privilege. I was impressed that Paul considers this in this way, and I think he will fit well with this council and Herefordians. I have confidence that Paul will hit the ground running. He said this at interview, and my engagement with him thus far has confirmed this. He is keen to make contact with the senior officers as soon as possible and to do background reading on our key issues. And I know that he has already been accessing papers for cabinet meetings. So he is watching us already. At interview, I was impressed with examples he gave in response to our questions, which showed integrity and some serious background reading in preparation. He was the only one who commented on our finances. His knowledge and reaction to our latest Ofsted report gave me confidence that he will pay appropriate attention to this area, something which a member of one of the stakeholder panels also noticed. One of the tests that I've used in assessing whether Paul is the right person for us is whether he will take officers with him on the journey. We have some great employees who are very committed to this council and the county, and I don't want that spoiled. I'm confident that Paul will take the staff with him, and he will make the council a better place to work, and above all, will enhance its reputation. However, I'm also confident that Paul will not be a soft touch, and when difficult decisions are required, he will make them. We had 6 excellent candidates on our shortlist, all of whom were very attracted to this role. We must not forget that Herefordshire is a hugely attractive place to live and work. We can be justifiably proud of our county. I would like to thank Tracy Sampson for her extraordinary contribution to the process, which from my perspective has been seamless. Tracy is a jewel in the council. I and the employment panel are very pleased to recommend Paul Walker to the council, and I hope that my description will encourage councillors to support this appointment. There are 2 other resolutions which are required by law to cover the period between Alistair formally leaving the organisation and Paul taking up this post. We must appoint a head of paid service, but there is no requirement to appoint a chief executive. The proposal from the employment panel is to appoint Claire Ward as head of paid service, which necessitates her relinquishing the monitoring officer role on a temporary basis. The employment panel agreed that it was not necessary to appoint a chief executive to cover the period. We are very happy with the arrangement with Andrew Lovegrove and Claire Ward being joint deputy chief executives. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank them for stepping into these roles and working so well with the Cabinet. Council, I hope that you will endorse the appointment of Paul Walker. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, can I just come in? I can hear and see you. I had technical issues getting into the meeting. Thank you.
Yes, we can hear and see you too. Thank you, Councillor Kenyon. Good to see you here. Is there a seconder for your motion and your
Councillor
report?
Chance.
Councillor Chance. Councillor Chance?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Great, thanks.
Timer.
In my role as Deputy Chair of the Employment Panel, I'm really delighted to second the appointment of Paul Walker as our new Chief Executive. First of all, I would like to echo the leader's thanks to Tracy Sampson and also to our Joint Deputy Chief Executives who are doing a really outstanding job, and there'll be a proper opportunity to thank them later, I know. Now, to Paul Walker, let me explain some of the reasons why I think he will be a great Chief Exec. One of the things that really struck us about the interview is his clarity. He doesn't waffle, he gets to the point, he sees quickly to the core of an issue and is very good at identifying what can be done. He started his career as an engineering apprentice, as David said, and it's a very practical training and indeed a nice connection given the development of our engineering-based university here in Hereford. So he'll be good at delivery. He knows that strategic vision needs to be translated into visible change on the ground. Those are his words. In the interview, he talked about having the sense that Herefordshire is really on the move, and I have confidence that he'll help us to get things done in a very practical way. He's got excellent project management experience, most recently with major regeneration and housing projects in Harrow, and that'll be very helpful given our ambitions here in Herefordshire. He'll be good with people. I believe he'll inspire real confidence in councillors, staff and partners. He's clearly very committed to partnership, to helping bring all stakeholders in Herefordshire together to help the county fulfil its full potential. And very clear about the importance of strong community engagement and engagement working in partnership with local businesses. I think he'll help us really, drive forward to reach out and build stronger partnerships, which is great. And I think he'll provide strong, clear leadership within the council, setting high standards and also really giving our staff the chance to shine. He's a believer in getting things done through and with people. He'll be a collegiate and focused leader, I believe. It's clear he's a doer, not a talker. He's pragmatic, calm, resilient. He's lots of experience of managing tricky situations, including emergency events like flooding when he was chief exec up in Cumbria, experience that is sadly clearly very relevant in Herefordshire now, where, as we've just heard, as we all know, we're facing floods again. So it's really clear that Paul is good in a crisis. But it's equally clear that he's good at being proactive, driving forward on key objectives, turning strategy into action. Not only the regeneration and housing projects that he's led in Harrow, but he's also led cross-council partnership work to tackle the climate emergency in London. He's been leading on the green recovery theme for the economic recovery plan for a group of West London councils. He's been there for carbon reduction work for London councils overall. So he clearly has both experience and commitment to doing the sort of very practical stuff that's the priority for us here in Herefordshire, not just reducing the council's own emissions, but doing stuff like investing in housing retrofit to improve energy efficiency, tackle fuel poverty, and create jobs. I think his experience in these areas will be really valuable to us as we work together with partners in the whole county to build back better from COVID towards our vision of a zero carbon, nature-rich Herefordshire. So I warmly recommend the appointment of Paul Walker as our new Chief Executive. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Chance. Now to the debate. Please can members indicate if they intend to speak. Do we have any hands coming up? Councillor Matthews.
Apologies, Chairman. Councillor Johnson has joined us, so we just need to do a quick roll call.
Right, thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Good morning, Chairman. My apologies. All this helpful technology that makes life so wonderful and easy at my end didn't work. And I spent the last half an hour. You'd be amazed at how much I've expanded my foul language vocabulary, but it finally did work.
I'm surprised your computer isn't fried to pieces by now, but very good to see you here and hear you as well.
Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Matthews, then Councillor Selden and Councillor Summers. So Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Chairman. I would just like to ask if someone can inform us, does this new executive, Paul Walker, intend to move to the county and live within the county, which I hope he is? So can somebody clarify that issue? Because I think it's important that the Chief Executive lives within the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hitchener, can you clarify that at all? Do you know?
Yes, it's a difficult one, and I've been involved in this in previous walks of life. If you insist that someone moves, so that they're going to give you the answer which you want, and then when they don't, it's impossible to enforce it. So at the end of the day, it's a question which one can ask, but I'm not sure you really get any value out of it. I have asked Paul privately, separately, and I know Tracy Sampson has also asked him what his plans are. He will make a base in Herefordshire, and he has no intention of just having that from Monday to Friday. He will be here for a longer period, and his wife, he will get his wife to come down. There are a couple of things which in this modern world we have to accept, that wives have careers as well as men do, and if a wife has a career, you can't if you limit yourself to only having people where it's just the man who has a career, then it's neither dealing with equality nor a real recognition of how things are in this modern world. I hope the men around the room who are married will acknowledge that actually having a happy wife is a really important feature. So Paul's been working in Harrow for the last 3 years, very, very effectively. He is committed to the county, Councillor Matthews, and we just have to accept that in the modern world we do things slightly differently. I'm confident that he will work very hard for our county. If his wife comes down here and she says, "Oh, this is an absolutely wonderful place, I want to come and live here," then I'm sure he will move lock, stock and barrel. Maybe he will maintain 2 houses. I suspect that's how it will be.
Chairman, I'm sorry to hear the uncertainty about my answer to my question. I would have thought someone of this status and of his financial payment, etc., that he should be encouraged with every effort should be made to make sure that he locates himself within the county. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know also that education of children can play a major role in where your, I think, your home base is. But it's good to hear that he is fully intending to be based in Herefordshire in the majority of occasions. And let's hope that works very well for him and for us. We have now Councillor Selden and then Councillor Summers. Councillor Selden?
Thank you, Chair. I sit on the member panel for the appointment of this new Chief Executive, and I will say that Mr. Walker impressed me because he was the only one, going back through my notes in preparation for this meeting today, that called Herefordshire unique. So that points to me of someone that will commit to this county and do his very best to make sure this county thrives going forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Summers, and then after is Councillor Summers, Councillor Kenyon, then Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. A question: how does the man see councillors and relate to them? But more to the point, will he listen to us? Personally, I think we have a officer-driven council, and I'd like to see some changes there. So that would be an interesting question. As for the moving, I've lived quite a while and I've had quite a few jobs in my time. My wife and I have always agreed that as far as moving is concerned, we both agree on taking the job and we both move together. So that's another issue, I suppose, but I'm not overly concerned. My big concern is how much input we as councillors will have in the future of Herefordshire. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hitchener, do you want to make a comment on that?
Yes, I'd probably have to go through my notes, but the general impression was that he's very good at dialogue with councillors. I think he is a listener. He sees himself as a public servant, and I think he sees the correct role of councillors and officers. It's for us, I think, as an administration to create the appropriate relationship going forward, and I'm confident that he will fit with us very well, and we will see changes within the council.
Can I just add to that, Chair? I'm rather concerned that Councillor Hitchener has to go through his notes. As far as I'm concerned, this should have been a priority when the man was interviewed or when anybody was interviewed. We as ward councillors are elected to the post and we should be treated as such and talked to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair?
Yes?
May I add something on this?
You may.
I think Councillor Summers, it's actually the leader's thoroughness that leads to that language, not any hesitation. My very direct answer to this would be, I think Paul Walker strikes the perfect balance. So we interviewed a wide range of candidates, and from at one end of the spectrum, you have candidates where you think, goodness, this might be a chief executive who might want to do the job of the cabinet at the same time. And I really didn't get that sense with Paul Walker. I got a very clear sense that he understood that his job was to help the administration put into place what they wanted to do and to work very effectively with councillors. He talked a lot about relationships with effective relationships with members in dealing with...
Sorry, Chairman, I was down next to speak and I'm confused who the leader is. Is it...
We're coming to you in a moment.
Or is it Councillor Chance?
Councillor Chance is about to finish.
Okay, thank you.
Finish that off. And I think we have some reassurance now that he will be working with councillors, I hope, in a suitable and sensible way. Councillor Kenyon, Councillor Hewitt, please. Councillor Kenyon.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm sorry I got confused there. I thought Councillor Hitchener was the leader, not Councillor Chance. So
he is the Vice Chairman of the Employment Panel.
Who that is.
Councillor Kenyon, let me explain. The Councillor Chance is the Vice Chairman of the Employment Panel, and she was the seconder of the motion. Therefore, I gave her the chance to have a little extra word or two.
Of course you did, Chairman. I'm a little concerned that we've got to this point already where I kind of thought we should have a discussion whether we should have a chief executive at all rather than just one. For many years, they've talked whether we need one or not and the cost of it. So we are where we are. And I wish Paul well. He can't be any worse than the last one. I hope he really does say that everything, or do everything that the employment panel is saying he's going to do. I want to see some action from him, because the last one we had nothing from. I think he was poor, and whether we should have one or not, I want to put that on record. We paid an awful lot of money, didn't get a lot back. Let's hope this time we can get something a little bit better.
Thank you, Councillor Kenyon. Councillor Davis, and followed by Councillor Hewitt and Councillor Norman. Councillor Davis.
Sorry, I was a bit. Yeah, it was just a little bit of reassurance, really, about my experience in the NHS. Is that very rarely do the senior bodies feel that they have to move everything to come to come and take a job, and I get slightly confused as to what difference that makes with regards to a council. Surely we want the best candidate who is going to deliver and be able to maintain their own healthy work-life balance, no matter where that is. So I'm slightly confused by that move. I think it's quite an old-fashioned view that people have to move here to care about the county. It's not about that. It's about delivering on plans. It's not about talking about caring about the county. It's about making sure that the things that we say we're going to do, we're actually going to do, and we're making the most use of every penny that we get from central government, from council tax, etc. So my experience has been certainly in Wye Valley Trust, where we're in a foundation group with people from Warwickshire, that it matters not where people are from, it matters what they deliver on, and I think we should focus on that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Davis. Councillor Hewitt, and then Councillor Norman.
Thank you. I just want to say the first thing is that those in the Hereford Independents will know that I expressed disquiet about the democratic process, because, as you all know, the humble councillors were not given the opportunity of actually seeing even a profile of each of the candidates. However, notwithstanding that, I absolutely trust the judgment of those who've spoken today in relation to the chief executive. And I would like to make a plea, please, that this new chief executive does take time to have a Zoom call with all regular councillors, so that we get a flavour of who this person is personally. That would be really helpful. But the other thing I'd like to say is the whole issue about equality. I would like to say that it's very important to have a happy husband as well. And it's really important that we understand this, that equality cuts both ways. And I was once asked in a teaching interview what my husband did. It's a similar sort of issue. What we're talking about here is someone who's qualified and committed to doing the job. And it's intrusive to ask questions about his wife and what she's doing and what their plans are. So I wholly want to put my foot in there and disagree with that conversation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Norman, followed by Councillor M. Jones.
We'll certainly start by agreeing with those comments just made. Absolutely, totally support that. I just briefly wanted to comment in my portfolio role, and to say how much I welcome the background Paul has in education, among other things, and his clear interest in the children's services sector. And I look forward to his support for the transitional and improving programme that we have in that sector. Very, very much to be welcomed that he has that clear interest. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. That's very important. Councillor Mike Jones, and followed by Councillor Shaw.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I just noted David Hitchener said that Copeland Borough Council, where Paul was chief executive for 5 years, was very similar to Herefordshire. And I noted that the council did away with the chief executive in 2015, which Paul was the chief executive. And I just wondered, given you talked about the similarities, do you think that Hereford should have, like Councillor Kenyon said, should have carried on with acting chief executive roles and save some money, which Copeland Borough Council did in 2015?
Thank you for your contribution. Councillor Shaw and Councillor Johnson following.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask, because I wasn't, although I was obliquely involved with the process, I'm not clear whether or not a full medical is part of the employment process, and I would just urge that any appointee to the role is subject to a full medical before the job offer's made. I've had experience before where you know, very senior roles have been appointed, and then unfortunately situations have arisen that ill health has caused an ongoing issue. So just to ask whether it is part of this role, whether it is part of this process, and if not, if it's not too late to ensure that it is.
Thank you. Councillor Hitchener, can you clarify that? Councillor Hitchener?
No, I can't. Mr. Goodman, I don't know whether I pass this one on to you or whether Tracy Sampson is available at the moment.
If Tracy Sampson is here, I suggest she'd be the right person to talk to. Otherwise, Mr. Goodman, can you please clarify?
It's a bit of a fastball for you, Guy, isn't it?
Thank you, Leader. Chairman, it is really a matter for Tracy Sampson. And I can't give an answer. What we'll do is we'll take the issue away, and in respect of the pre-employment checks, we will take on board what's been said and see what can be done.
Thank you very much indeed. That's reassuring. Thank you. Councillor Johnson, followed by Councillor James, then Councillor Stark.
Thank you, Chairman. To cover a couple of points that have been raised by fellow councillors, I believe the chosen candidate in this case is as safe a pair of hands as we're likely to find anywhere, experienced, etc. On a personal basis, each of us would be looking for something slightly different. Some people would prefer a much more overtly dynamic sort. Somebody else would require a low profile, below the radar type. And we had a very full discussion. When I say we, I'm talking about the employment panel on the day. On my own, I might have picked another candidate, but I was properly persuaded by my colleagues and was happy to go along with them to make it a unanimous choice. Paul, to me, seems to be particularly approachable, and a previous speaker had asked about his contact with councillors. I can't remember the details, but there was an incident that had occurred where I believe Paul had put himself on the line and taken the blame, as it were, for something that had gone wrong amongst his officer team. And he had stood up to be counted and made himself answerable to all councillors for this particular event, which was not of his own doing. And I thought that was quite good. The last thing that I thought was more than helpful was that Paul made more of the fact about our looked after children than any other candidate there. His view of the latest Ofsted report was that no matter what we thought it was, in his view, it was not acceptable. And I thought that attitude was encouraging on that most important subject. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. That's good to hear. Councillor James, followed by Councillor Stark, please.
Thank you, Chairman. As one of the members of the employment panel, I wholeheartedly support this particular recommendation. I was tremendously impressed with Mr. Walker. One thing I think was Councillor Summers mentioned the fact about the relationship between councillors and members. That was the one of the things I noted down in my notes, that he had to seem to appreciate the proper relationship between officers and members. He had a certain modesty in the manner of his style. He didn't seem to have an ego, which I think is often an important part of being as the senior executive. As to, I think Councillor Jones mentioned about Copeland and the abolition of the role of chief executive. Copeland moved to a directly elected mayor, which changes the role of a chief executive, and he applied for redundancy. But I have to say, if we are thinking about changing to not having a chief executive, I think Copeland have already gone back to having a chief executive. They found the experiment didn't work that well. So I wholeheartedly support the recommendation. I was very impressed. The relationship between members and councillors was one of the points I thought that he seemed to get more than any other of the applicants. One of them constantly referred to the councillors as politicians in that sort of derogatory style that so many people do. I hope that he will do an excellent job as the chief executive in Herefordshire.
Thank you, Councillor James. That's very reassuring.
Chairman, may I interrupt? Councillor Marsh has just rejoined us. Could you just confirm that she's able to hear and be heard?
Yes, Councillor Marsh, are you there?
Yes, I'm very happy to be here and I can hear and see you. And I've been following on YouTube for my short outage. Thank you.
Oh, right. Well done. And yes, I can see and hear you too. Very pleased to say. We have now Councillor Gandy, followed by Councillor Hay and Councillor Ayanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know whether Paul Walker is listening to this debate on YouTube today. If he is, I think he might find some of the comments that have been made today somewhat unprofessional and embarrassing, and I have found them so as well. And he might want to think again about whether he wants to actually come to Herefordshire, and I hope he doesn't, but I do feel that some of our colleagues today have made comments which are totally unprofessional and a real embarrassment, and I would therefore propose that we put the motion now.
I will I take your point, but I would like to allow Councillor Hay to have her words. Please, Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Chair. I would probably agree with Councillor Gandy there. As you say, we're supposed to be, promoting ourselves and giving the message of why you'd want to come and work for Herefordshire Council. And there's been lots of positive comments as well, so that's good. But as with my two hats on, as the current chair of Hereford City Council, I thought I'd like to just say a quick word in terms of looking forward to meeting whoever is appointed to this role. And I was very sad to not be able to be involved in the process at this stage, but I appreciate that there are good reasons for that in the times that we are. But I look forward to meeting and working with the appointed candidate. And to go back to Councillor Davis's comments, we'd like to think we're a forward-thinking council, and that we don't require somebody to live in the county. I'm pretty confident that somebody who gets this role and works in the county will fall in love with the county and want to come and live here, because it's a very exciting time for us. I mean, I was really pleased to hear about the skills regeneration element of what Paul's been involved with, because we've got our Stronger Towns Fund process going through COVID recovery. It's going to be so important that we have somebody who's really keen on skills regeneration, and it sounds like Paul might be up to the job. So, as I say, I think I have faith in the committee and who they've chosen, and I look forward to, say, a new and positive phase for the county.
Good. Well, that's very positive, I think. Two more speakers, and then we'll go to the vote, I think. Councillor Stark and Councillor Ginman, in that order.
Thank you, Chair. I seem to have fallen out of the order somewhat. As someone not involved in the process, I mean, I have to rely on the accounts of everyone else as to the merits of this candidate, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. But my experience has been that you do need to get someone into the job and see how they perform before you can actually judge how they are fitting in. So I just really wanted to ask whether this chief executive will be on a period of probation, so that would give me more confidence in being able to support it, knowing that there will be a review point where we can see how the performance of the individual has matched what the appointment process determined that would be the outcome from selecting this candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hitchener, can you clarify that point?
There are a number of issues like that which I've gone through my mind, and I think probably we rely upon the standard sort of employment rules which are applicable to chief executives. I imagine there is something across the whole industry. It might be that Councillor Phillips is more acquainted with that. So I can perhaps I'll get Tracy Salmon to look at it and give you a reply, Councillor Stark.
I think it'd be a good reply.
Unless Councillor Phillips has a degree of knowledge on this.
Well, I'll ask him in a moment, but I think it'd be good if Sampson notifies all councillors of the outcome of her consideration of this particular point. I think. Good. Councillor Phillips, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I think, Chairman, Tracy will be able to give the correct information for all members, and that's appropriate. But local government has a particular way in which they do appoint their chief executives and senior officers. That is a standard way. It's very open and very transparent. And from what I can see, we haven't deviated from that in this process.
Good. Final speaker.
Chairman, if I could just interject, if that's appropriate. In terms of the appointment of the chief exec, I've had confirmation from Tracy Sampson. This will be in line with our normal appointment processes for all employees. So background checks, references, DBS checks, medical checks, and where appropriate, periods of notice period. So as Councillor Phillips have said, we're following the normal process we follow for any appointments into local government.
Thank you. Very reassuring. Final speaker, Councillor Ginman.
I think my needing to speak may now have been made redundant. I was simply under 41122 going to second Councillor Gandhi's motion, but you are now going to bring this to a close, so therefore it probably becomes redundant. Thank you. Otherwise, that is what I was going to ask you to do.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Ginman. And now, moving to the vote. I will take each of the recommendations separately. And please can Democratic Services display the proposed motion for recommendation, which are A, B, and C. Go to A first, and that is that Paul Walker is appointed as the Council's Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service. And can we please confirm the voting number and that all members are available and ready to vote?
Chairman, the voting number is 50. And members are eligible to vote now.
Thank you. The voting options for, against, and abstain have been added to the electronic voting system. The options are now on screen. If you are unable to see the voting options, please access the poll icon at the bottom of your screen. And please can members vote for, against, or abstain. Please cast your vote and ensure you press submit after selecting the option for which you are voting. I've got a rather strange poll on my screen. Ah, thank you. It looks better. Are all the votes in?
Just waiting for one vote. Yes, now all votes are in now, Chairman. So the numbers for are 44, against 1, abstain 6.
Therefore, the recommendation is agreed, and Paul Walker is appointed as the Council's Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service. And may I put my congratulations forward and wish him very, very well indeed. I hope he has a happy and prosperous and effective time here. And we look forward to when he does get here, and he has to serve his time, I believe, is service of notice, and we look forward to his presence here. Now, next recommendation, can we display the proposed motion for recommendation B, which is the Solicitor to the Council is designated to be acting head of paid service on the 12th of February, when the current Chief Executive leaves the Council's employment and until the newly appointed Chief Executive starts in post. So, can please members vote?
Chairman, if I may issue just a small correction to the last poll, there were actually 51 members eligible to vote and all voted.
Oh, right. Has it changed the numbers at all?
I believe, Chairman, it was when we made you a guest rather than a co-host that the number increased. So it was just making you eligible to vote, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So can please members vote for, against, or abstain? Please cast your vote and ensure you press submit after selecting the option for which you are voting. And then do remember the submit button.
Chairman, all votes are in, and that's been carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Then we go to recommendation C. I'm sure we can confirm the voting number and that all members are available and ready to vote. And then please can members vote for, against, or abstain. Please cast your vote and ensure you press submit after selecting the option for which you are voting. All the votes in yet?
Chairman, we're just waiting for one vote to come in.
Right.
I beg your pardon, no. Yes, yeah, we are still waiting for one vote to come in.
Fine. Do remember, sometimes the submit button is a little bit tricksy to use. You have to make sure it actually disappears.
Chairman, I'm not sure which member is having the difficulty, but I can let members know that the vote has been carried by 50 votes for and 1 abstention.
Thank you very much. And that is that to ensure the appropriate and necessary separation of statutory roles, the interim head of legal services is designated to be acting monitoring officer for any period of time when the solicitor to the council is designated as acting head of paid service. So thank you very much indeed. We look forward to you carrying out those roles in your usual efficient way. And that is the end of that particular part. I would like to thank members of the public and councillors for their attendance at today's meeting. I remind everyone that the next council meeting is the extraordinary meeting on Tuesday, the 2nd of February, 2021 at 2 p.m. And the time now is 12 minutes past 11 and the meeting is now closed. Can I check with Democratic Services team that